How's it going, guys? We are live again with yet another episode of Vaughn Coleman Presents. Apologize, my DSLR was acting up, so you're just gonna have to deal with this camera. Hope that's okay. But before we get started, of course, I do like to always show off what I've got in store. And so this time, of course, is no different. But this time is the first time on Vaughn Coleman Presents, and actually on my channel, that I'm finally, aside from when I uploaded the video, showing off the trailer for my comics. So I'm going to go ahead, show off my campaign, and then we'll just get right into it. So let's just get into that, ladies and gentlemen.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born. And with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenal. For you, Dad. For you.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Phenomenova. It is my comic book that is launching at the end of this month, March 29th. So make sure you check it out. Of course, there's the trailer. The link is in the description, or you could go to rebeloasisstudios.com. It is set 20 years after World War III and follows the adventures of a teenage boy who is struck by lightning while holding a mysterious crystal and finds himself awakening with lightning powers. So here are some of the heroes he fought during the war. And when you sign up, first of all, there is an art contest. And when you sign up, you will also be able to get this exclusive free trading card if you back within a week of the campaign launch. So again, if you want this trading card, you're going to want to join that sign-up list. You'll also be able to stay up to date on everything. It's absolutely a must-do. So make sure you do that. And ladies and gentlemen, let's see, where's the sign-up option? Not there? Yeah, there you go. It was weird. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the man of the hour. All right, you're not here for me. You're here for this guy. How you doing, Eric?
What's up, guys? How's it going, Vaughn?
It's going well. It's going
awesome.
really well.
Cool, man. Good trailer.
Thank you. I've been getting a lot of people seem to like the trailer, which is good. I wanted to make sure. I decided, I sometimes I just feel like I'm a visual learner and I can explain what the book's all about a million times, but won't always go through. So I like having that. But
trailer for sure.
Oh, it says invalid page in your thing. I did click on it, so maybe just send the link again, and I'll update it in both the chat and the description.
All right, I'll do it myself rather than copy and pasting.
Okay.
And
I mean, your book is one of those ones that's been on my radar for a while that I really wanted to check out. I really like the look of Shadow Century. The name, first of all, is awesome.
Thanks, man.
And well, I do want to, I want to talk about your book. I always like to, kind of take the more scenic route when I come to this kind of thing. We all have our comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I always like to know about the road to getting there. Like what got you into, because comics obviously aren't, for everyone. And I feel like everyone always has their story as to what got them into comics. What was yours?
Man, sitting in elementary school in the cafeteria, some kids behind me were drawing. They were looking at some comics like X-Men and stuff. And I just wandered over. I was like, what are you guys doing? And just, they all had some cool looking art. And that is what got the spark for art in me. So then I just started drawing and got more and more comics in my life and started collecting comics. We had a comic book shop literally like it started a few blocks away from our house, but it was within like biking distance, and then eventually they moved right across the street. It was called Thunder Road Comics. So right around the time of the 90s, I remember walking in there and just seeing all the new Image titles on the shelves and seeing Youngblood and Wildcats, Deathblow, and all those. And it was just like it was just amazing. So that's kind of what got me into creating.
So it was the 90s that got you into it, like all the Image boys?
Yeah, right around that time. Yep. So I was born in early 80s. So by the time I was, like I had an allowance or was able to get some money, I was, like 10 or so. And then, yeah, man. So seeing all those books and just their passion for, the medium and the stories they were telling, the flashy dynamic art, it was just kind of like, whoa, this is amazing. A lot of people give the 90s a hard time, like the stories weren't great and stuff. And some of them weren't, but the artwork was so just flipping awesome. It's very dynamic and, really, really cool. So anyway, so I have a very highly inspired 90s style in my artwork, but I always enjoyed creating. So even back in high school, I was creating characters, based off what I saw. And so some of the characters from the Shadow Century, I actually created in high school, and they might've been part of a different, kind of like genre, like Brazen, Midst, and then even Galleon, who is in the book. They were all like kind of more of like a Lord of the Rings mythical type story that I created. But so Flash, move forward till 2020. Well, a little before then, it was kind of like, okay, I have all these characters I've created. Now I want to put them into a book. And so I've lots of stuff I created over the years, but I was like, all right, if I'm going to do my own book, what's my best, right? I want to put my best foot forward. I want to put my best stuff. So I got all the characters that I liked, and then came up with the overarching universe of Shadow Century, which is basically, they're not mutants. They have near-death experiences, and when they cross over into the other side and they return, they bring back the supernatural with them. And so they're able to break the rules that govern our world because they've been to the other side. So that was the basis behind Shadow Century.
That's such a cool concept. I really like that. They were able to bring something over.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so what inspired you to come up with that? Because I guess I know like with the X-Men, like famously, it was like Stan Lee, which I always assumed was like, I don't need to come up with origin stories every time. Because then at a certain point it gets exhausting. But having that be your catalyst for that is really cool. What inspired that?
I think I wanted something that people could relate to, or like, you could come into it and you might not know anything about the universe, but it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, so heaven and hell, that's, a trope that, you could do a lot of, and it doesn't get old because it's like, you could do so many things with it. I think of Spawn, kind of similar, right? He goes to hell and Malbolgia gives him these powers and all that stuff. So I really dig that. And, and you can kind of get like the creepy eeriness of hell, but then also you have the other side, and you get the angels and all that stuff into it. It's just like fun, fun to play with. And then you have, they're humans. So you have the Hellborn and the Highborn, and they get to do their thing. So I thought that was cool. I was like, all right, that's what I'm doing. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that's such a brilliant idea. So you mentioned that X-Men first got you into comics, but then when it came to creating that, it was the Image boys, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What were your favorite? Because it's funny because that's what got me into comics, even though it wasn't new at the time. I mean, I don't want to say got me into creating comics and looking at this as a career and all that, and really crossing the threshold. I would say was Claremont's X-Men run. So it sounds to me, because that was the 80s. That was I finished all the 80s stuff. I'm finally onto the 90s.
Nice.
I read Madripoor Nights for the first time, so that was fun.
Very cool.
I'm not sure if you read. Did you read
the new one?
Yeah, did you read the new one? I thought the new one was so good.
I have not read it yet, but it's
very good. Cool. It was really cool. I made a video on it. It was really cool because it was like all you guys had to wait like however almost 30 years, right? I got to just wait like an hour.
Right.
I read it, and then I was able to read right in, and it was cool. It was actually great timing because that's where I was in the run. So a lot
Very
of
cool.
fun. I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to keep reading more. But what was your favorite? Who's your favorite X-Men?
Probably Wolverine. He's
That's a
just
good
so
thing.
cool. I mean,
Oh,
not it's like the claws are awesome, but then it's like he has the healing power and all that stuff, and just like
mhm.
love Wolverine.
He's
Yeah,
a character that I think also fits in like any atmosphere too. Like you look
Mhm.
at the slew of Wolverine stories or Wolverine centric stories. They'll have everything like he's a character where you could throw him into any environment and make him work.
Yeah.
Certain characters have to be like Batman generally. I'm not saying he can't work in every environment, but like he's, you have to have him in darkness or
Yeah.
whatever. Wolverine, you can have him on another planet with the Brood saga. And I think it's almost like because the animalistic nature, but even then, do have like the Scorpio connection, right?
Mm.
Which has like him, it's more of an espionage story, or you have more crime centered stories, or how like samurai centered stories, like
Yep.
Wolverine. I think he's a character that just resonates with people, and I think a part of it is he can thrive with any kind of you throw him anywhere. So you throw him in
Mhm.
the deep end, he will always be a character that's working well.
For sure. Yep. Yeah. The Claremont run. Well, starting with Madripoor Knights, and then like once he goes to the Shi'ar Galaxy and all that stuff, that was such a good just story arc. And Professor X is like I forget what it was, if he was like brainwashed or something, but Wolverine ends up like taking on Professor X, and just
No,
so
it
good.
was yeah, it was like he got infected with the queen egg because he wasn't on the mission. It was like I forget how, but it was like all the X-Men were taken away, and Professor X was. I remember actually because it was the New Mutants, if you remember, were founded while the X-Men were dead because of the
Mm,
Brood, and it was like during all those stories, the queen's egg was growing inside of him, and so he dies. But they're just like, oh, we could clone him. It's like, oh, they could have just done that, and yeah. So that was an interesting time. But it's a great time in X-Men
yeah.
history, and yeah, that's really cool. And so I want to pull up your stuff. But so your favorite writers then? You're an artist and a writer, is that right?
Basically, yeah. I wrote Shadow Century, and up until actually writing Shadow Century, it was just kind of more creating, and I'd write stories and stuff. But it was kind of like, for me, it was never like, oh, I'm going to publish this. It was just like, I loved creating. So now with Shadow Century, it was like, all right, I'm gonna write this thing, and yeah, it's been fun. So you know, the dialogue really is always like, for me, the toughest part. You want it to sound natural, you want it to sound good.
Mhm.
But the writing the action, writing the story, the plot just comes natural. But yeah, but with Shadow Century book 1 and 2, people really liked it. They said it gave them a kick of nostalgia, which is like awesome. That's what I wanted. So with Shadow Century Origins, I wanted to kind of slow it down and get away from the regular series and kind of get to some of the backstories of the characters. So with Shadow Century Origins, we're looking at Hopscotch. She's a teleporting Hellborn. And then you also get Commander Noble. So they each have like a 25-page story in there.
Oh, nice.
Um, and I got Mark Polton to help me with the Hopscotch story. And then I'm writing the Commander Noble story with a friend. His name is Clay Pauly. And then I got Clayton Barton. He did the cover work. And I saw what amazing job he did. It was like fantastic. So I was like, hey, dude, I'm like, do you have any more time? Like, could you do like breakdowns and layouts? And he was like, yeah, man, I'm game. And so he laid out and broke down the whole story, the whole 25 pages, and I inked it and finished it. So,
Oh, I was wondering because I knew you were an artist, right? I
mhm,
was wondering because I also saw Barton's name on there, and I was trying to figure out because I was like, this looks. I can't tell whose style this is. Now it makes sense. Okay,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Was
man.
it when it comes to your writing? Because I know a lot of the time artists think in terms of thumbnails,
hmm
but do you usually not think in those terms, or how did you go about? Because that's really interesting scripting process.
For me, I'll kind of come up with a basic breakdown of the story, um, and then from there, kind of divvy it up into pages, and then I might do the rough layouts. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of like I do it in steps. Kind of start
Sorry
with
about that. I was
no, it's
trying
all
to
good.
grab my CG vacation piece, had yours, and then my whole Shelf came down. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So I think I got most of that before everything crashed down, but you said you kind of just you write it out and
Yeah, I'll write it out. A quick plot breakdown, how I want the story to flow. Major key points, and then once I get there, then I'll kind of go in and break down the pages. I don't do thumbnails. Well, I do thumbnails, but they're not thumbnail size. They're like 8.5 by 11. I kind of have the border going on, and then I do it almost at the size of a page. And then, because like you said, you're like a visual person, right? So am I. So I want to see everything on the page. And if it's so small, I might do like little quick things if I need to just get something down. But I like to work bigger. I want to see it, and I want to see how it's going to look on an actual size page. So yeah, I'll work a little bit bigger and then blow that up and ink it. And then, if I don't have all the dialogue figured out, then I'll go back in afterwards. As I'm inking it, I'm like thinking through the page. So I'll like throw down, what they might be saying, and just kind of, it's a fun process, really. Nothing's ever written in stone until I'm like, ready to go to print.
right.
So yeah,
That's always the case, I feel like.
yeah. So
yeah, that's really cool. I really like these covers. Obviously, the one with the chick is I feel like always going to be the. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's generally. Let me see if I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong. Okay, that generally tends to be the preferred one. I mean, like this is the one that caught my eye, but they're both really cool looks of the characters. So, do you have between these two? That's a cool design too. Between these two, do you have a favorite cover?
yeah, Barton's. Yeah, I think so.
Of course, she's easy on the eyes. So, when it comes to these characters, what about favorite character?
For my book, probably gonna lean towards Ganon, who is like the gun-toting, very grifter-esque, cowboy type character. He's not in here, but from the Shadow Century, he's probably my top guy. But if you're asking from this book, that's a hard one, man. I might go Commander Noble. I'm a stickler for guns and gear. So to draw them, like, hopscotch is fun to draw, but I like guns and gear. So probably going to lean towards Commander Noble.
That's awesome. And you drew both stories?
So I did finishes on the hopscotch story.
All right.
Over Clayton's breakdowns and layouts. Then the Commander Noble is like all me.
Okay.
So pencils, inks, and then,
and the script too. Gotcha.
Correct. Yeah. So.
And which one did you do first?
So the hopscotch story, because like I mentioned, I got Clayton to do the cover, and then it was like I wanted him to do the breakdowns and layouts. So while I was like working on Shadow Century book 2, somewhere around there, I was getting him to work on it. So I was getting the ball rolling, and the plan is to like have 2 books going at once, so I could like kind of do more than one a year. So that was the plan with Shadow Century Origins. So have other people working on it, and then I can come in and then get it done quicker. But it still ended up taking a year. But that's just, how the cookie crumbles. But my goal is to get faster and get out more books. So
absolutely. Well, you're doing a good job so far. I mean, that's always our goal, man. I was looking at a piece of paper. I've mentioned this on stream before. That was from 2022 as I was cleaning stuff out because I'm so messy. And it was like, have issues 1 through 3 done by the end of the year. And now it's 2024. Issue 1's not out, but it's like, listen, I learned a lot during that time. But I learned a lot. I mean, made a lot of mistakes, which I think is how, you learn best. But we get there. But I mean, these are awesome. So you said that these are the origins. So there was a first book?
Correct. Yeah. So Shadow Century book 1 and 2 are currently done, and there's a catch-up tier in here. So if anybody missed it, you can get, well, I would just tell you to get all 3. But on Fund My Comic, I do have the books available as well. And if you order them on Fund My Comic, then you can get them like right away. Whereas this book, I won't ship until, the new Origins book is done. So you have a few options. If you want book 1 and 2 and you want it quick, get it from Fund My Comic, which I could shoot you that, or you have that link.
Do you have that link? Let me go ahead and hop over there for a second.
Okay. I know I posted it on my side as well, since we're like double streaming here. But
Yeah. No, I know I forget because I see stuff in your chat and I'm like, oh, okay, it says that. And I'm like, nope, not for
yeah.
this cover is so good.
Okay, yeah. So
I
this
had
is
to use it for the thumbnail. Like I just had to. It was so this is the Kickstarter one?
that is the Kickstarter cover, yeah.
Nice.
So if you missed that campaign, unfortunately Kickstarter is only 30 days. So
I know. That's why it does force that immediacy, but it also I've missed windows on campaigns that I would have backed because it's so the also the annoying feature. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is the feature where you have to put in your information after the fact because it's like I got an email today. I was like, what? I already backed this like a month ago, and it's like, oh yeah,
that's kind of weird.
Michael Rushbrook says looks awesome. Is it 2 stories in 1 book?
Yeah.
Thank you for the $2, Michael.
Yep. Yeah. 2 stories. So you'll get 2 25-page stories. And so this is like part 1. So there will be a part 2 and that'll like finish off both of their stories. So this is a 1 of 2. But I wanted to break it up because Shadow Century is all about, the Hellborn and the Highborn. So I wanted to highlight both of them. I had 2 really fun stories that I wanted to tell. And I'm like, well, let me just do it together. And it'll be cool. So
that's really cool. I really like this feature or like this cover here and the Hellborn and the Highborn. So the Hellborn, correct me if I'm wrong, is so it's when they get their powers by going down below, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's cool. Hellborn, Highborn. So that's really interesting. So it's almost like you're dead. And is it by the kind of person you are when you do this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is it possible to say go down Hellborn, get powers, and then redeem yourself and go back up? Or
it is possible. It is possible. Yeah. So as long as I mean, because they die, but they don't really die, right? They come back, so they're still redeemable. So I like to keep that in my back pocket. Any of these characters could be redeemed.
And then someone asked, Aviator Search, maybe Eric already mentioned, is he doing a book for each character? Are you?
No. I mean, no. So it'll still be like the double book. However, if you're talking about like other characters, so after I do the first 2 books of the origin stories, I want to do Hopscotch, Commander Noble. Then after that, what I'll probably do is pick another character and then just have the whole book be about them rather than split it up again. Kind of keep it. So then I could tell more story and just kind of do them one by one.
That makes perfect sense. It's great. It's a really cool concept. I like all this. I like, and the art is awesome. I think, I mean, it's and again, it's 25 pages each, so 50 pages, right? For wow, 25. So how does the Kickstarter? It's like once the Kickstarter campaign has ended, this can come over here.
Yeah. So that's what I did once it was done. It was like, if anybody missed it, come over here and get your second chance on the Kickstarter cover. And
can that only happen when did you have to make this campaign after the Kickstarter ended then?
That's what I did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
I'm just curious.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I didn't think about doing it while it was going on. I was just like, I'm gonna wait till after.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense to me. But
yeah. And then right there is the links. You can kind of see them if you scroll up. It has links. If you missed book 1 and 2, I included a link there, so it goes to the Fund My Comic campaign where you can get book 1 and 2. And like I said, those are going to ship right away. So if I get an order, I ship those right out. But again, if you order it on the Indiegogo campaign, you'll get them after the origin story book is done.
Perfect.
Yeah, man.
This looks great, man. These are 1 and 2. And is she Hopscotch in this book?
She is, yeah.
Oh, there she is. Never mind. Literally, I just looked before I asked. These are great. So I do have a question. So you're a writer. It seems to me like you started leaning towards art and then just kind of, I guess, fell into writing. But do you have a favorite? Who are your favorite artists, and who do you pull from the most?
Probably Jim Lee the most because that's who early on. That's whose art really spoke to me. again, like looking at X-Men stuff, I was heavily influenced by X-Men, and he was right. At that point, it was him and Claremont redid the X-Men, went to #1, and those books were awesome. So that was highly influential. So I love Jim Lee stuff. I like Mark Silvestri. And then again, I like got heavy into comics around the 90s when Image launched. So all the Image creators, Eric Larson, Rob Liefeld, all those guys, Will Portacio,
Right.
eating up all their books. Dale Keown,
Oh yeah.
fantastic. So yeah, and yeah, man. So just that heavy stylized, lots of cross hatching, and then I like Jim Lee a lot because he's kind of more versatile. I feel like he could do 3 different styles and they're all be like very, very, very cool. So, he did Death Blow, which is more Frank Miller. He could do his style. Then he kind of morphed it in there somewhere and did a more like a J. Scott Campbell style, which I didn't love, but it was still pretty cool. So I really like his stuff.
And Death Blow, I haven't seen this before. That's interesting. Jim, yeah, I mean, I love Jim. Jim Lee's probably my favorite too. The first comic I ever read was Batman Hush, so we got that in common. That was, blew me away. I think he's probably my #1 too. I'd say my second favorite Image boy is probably Silvestri.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I love their work.
Have you read the new Batman series he did?
I did. I got it signed by him too. We talked about it for a bit. I had mixed thoughts on it's weird, but like hearing him talk about it really like kind of sells me on some things. There were things. I assume you read it?
I did, yeah.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. I liked the detective aspect of it. Kind of I forget the girl's name, but the villain at the end. Like I liked her backstory, how he worked that in there. She was cool looking too. And then there's creepy Joker dudes. I just, I dug it. I like when you go heavy into the detective kind of story where it's like there's a lot of unknowns and you know what I mean? I kind of dug that. So yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's great. I had issues. One of my issues, like even highlighted what you said, the fact that I don't remember the main villain's name either.
Right.
Big problem. I think the villain, I liked the concept and everything, but I didn't really care about her or what her motivations were or what she was trying to do. If I never saw the character again, I wouldn't, lose sleep over it is my whole thing. I think that like personally for me, I felt the ending was something I've seen a million times before where it's like, oh, Joker doesn't even want to know Batman's real identity. I've seen that done so many times that it's like, for me personally, the ending fell flat. I think that it was a beautifully drawn book with some beautiful moments in there. I love it has one of my favorite Batman moments in a long time where Batman, where he has to burn the train, or like that little history that was where his parents proposed. That was honestly my favorite part of the whole story is that train segment. I liked the detective stuff, like you said. There were things I love. Silvestri, I think, draws a better Joker than Jim Lee.
Yeah. I don't care for Jim Lee's Joker, at least like the face. I don't love it.
I love Jim Lee, but I don't love his Joker.
Yeah.
I think he's like, I would say Silvestri's Joker is probably up in my favorites. I'd say Silvestri, Fabok, Brian Bolland, obviously. Graham Nolan has a very good Joker. His is like very cartoony, but like the right amount of sinister.
Yeah, Mark Silvestri has a good blend, I think, of the insane but like human. But yeah, there's a lot of very like iconic kind of like pictures like just are gonna stick with me, like Joker in that mask with the the zipper and stuff, and he's got the headphones on. The Batmobile was ridiculously sick.
Yeah, I think the look of Gotham City, the gothic look to it was really special. Yeah. And I know you mentioned Jim Lee. So what was your first introduction to Jim Lee? What specific comic?
Man.
Was it X-Men #1? Or no, that was 90s.
That was, yeah. I mean, before, gosh, I'm trying to think.
Or I guess what was your introduction to X-Men? Because it might not have even been Jim Lee.
Right, yeah. I remember specifically Wolverine, where Mark Teixeira was drawing him. that was some really cool stuff. So a lot of the books I feel like were like books that kids brought to school, and I would just like check them out. And then this girl that kind of had a crush on me, she bought me some comics because she knew I was into art and like comics.
Wow, what a woman!
And so she bought me that Wolverine, and yeah. So Mark Teixeira's work on that was like stupid cool. But my first Jim Lee book, gosh, I don't know if it was X-Men #1 or if it was like, if it was the Wildcats. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it doesn't like stick in my head which was the first.
Teixeira. Okay, so because I'm wondering, because you said started in the 80s, because I'm looking up his run now, it was 61. So he doesn't kind of join in until a little later into
yeah, it was like 89,
92.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you kind of came on a bit later. I was just wondering that. I know I've had so many people just tell me how much they loved Mark's art. I haven't read much of it yet, I think, is of his stuff.
Of Silvestri?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He did a lot of Wolverine. He did some Uncanny X-Men.
Or no, not Silvestri. Mark Teixeira.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really get it. No, I know Jim Lee's stuff. He did, and Silvestri, of course. Silvestri did so much. I think I'm done with Silvestri's X-Men run. I gotta check, but I'm pretty sure I read all of his X-Men issues. I think next would be his Wolverine. Nice. He did so much, and then Jim Lee. Obviously, I guess he couldn't pump it out as fast of a rate as Silvestri because his art style. I mean, you look at it and it's like this guy can't be a monthly guy. There's no way. If he ever had stuff coming out months apart, it's probably because he was given the assignment.
Yeah, that's a good question. Who actually? I feel like Jim Lee has more Marvel books than Silvestri does, but Silvestri come on after. Well, I'm trying to think now.
So Jim Lee did 25 issues of Uncanny X-Men. I'm looking at it. Thank God for Comic Vine. It makes me look smart, even though I just totally. Well, it's not like I would have known this off the top of my head. Then Punisher, War Journal 18, Alpha Flight 20. Okay, so that's like those are his biggest, and then 11 of just X-Men. So 11 X-Men and 20. But even then, here's the thing: that doesn't necessarily include, because there were a couple covers Jim Lee did for issues that he didn't do the interiors for. I'm seeing at least one he didn't do that one. He didn't do here. Let me share my screen since we're talking about this, and we can get back to your book. Why not though? But I always like to have fun, and that's the thing. I think when people don't talk about like what inspired them and nerd out, I think like this kind of stuff also helps you know where we're coming from. See, he didn't do the interiors on this or this or this. This is my next issue to read. So I have read some early. Yeah. Rogue finally coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Extinction Agenda, super good.
All right. That's my next big event is Extinction Agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. That right after 268 is where I think Jim Lee was just like all on fire. And, you know, you got stinking Scott Williams, who's just fantastic. It was just, you had like all the best right there.
I'm excited to get to Extinction. I'm going to show you you got to understand how psychotic my reading order is. It's nuts. So just to give you an idea of how I've been going about reading X-Men and why it's taken me so long is because I decided, although I didn't read Alpha Flight, I know I should. Everyone tells me I should. So I'll come back to it later. It's already taken me enough as is. You know, I'm reading all of this stuff. So I have been reading meticulously, generally speaking, following this order. I did skip because I was excited for Madripoor Nights. But so you can see I've been reading all this all the way. Where am I now? Okay, I am currently, I finished this, and then I've read this, which means, oh, wait, no. I read not 269, I read 268, which means so I got to read these X Factor books, got New Mutant Summer Special, got to read Spotlight and Starjammers. I don't know what Reign of Terra is. I guess I'll check. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Reign of Terra. So where do you read these like online? How do you read them?
Depends. Some of them sometimes most of them I read online. Oh, that reminds me. I gotta my Marvel Unlimited. I gotta renew that.
Yeah. So after I found out about all these awesome artists, at Image, it was like, then it was kind of like slowly I started going back and I was like, all right, what did they work on before this? And, I found out all the X-Men stuff. So I kind of feel like I found Jim Lee at Image and then I went backwards and
To
started
his other
collecting all
work.
the stuff. And I was like 9 or 10. I was 10 years old when Image first started. So, my kid brain, I'm just like soaking it all in. And then as I start collecting, it's like, all right, well, I'm going to go backwards and find out all this other stuff. So I've been collecting all the Uncanny X-Men books from both Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee. And then went back and got some of the Alpha Flight, got all the Punisher War Journal. I try and get the collected editions if I can. So I have the Punisher War Journal collected edition. And yeah, man, it's fun seeing their
War Journal, their early days. Yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
see how they morph and just get better and better. It's really cool.
No, I mean, that is really cool. One of the things I even liked now is because I didn't grow up. When I grew up, most of these X-Men characters were established characters. So even from a character standpoint, going back and seeing, oh, Rogue started off as a villain and kind of looked different, and seeing how the characters slowly morph into what we know them today is a really cool. And I think that's something that's unique to comics. And my question for you is, okay, so you have Shadow Century 1 and 2 and Origins. So do you have a specific order that you want people to read them in?
Yeah. Read 1, read 2, and then read Origins, because my plan is, so when you read the origin stories, you're going to get some pieces of information that I've alluded to in book 1 and 2, specifically for Commander Noble. You're going to get his backstory, and then by the time book 1 and 2 of Shadow Century Origins is done, it's going to kick off the second story arc for Shadow Century, which should be book 5. And then you're going to have like that basis of information for, who this next villain is, who this next team is, which is the XI Hunters. And they have, lots to do with Commander Noble's past. So, yeah, so that's the plan. And that's the way to do it.
That's awesome. So I mean, these books look fantastic. And I think more and more people should get them. I'm definitely interested in getting these. How long are these Fund My Comic campaigns going to be up?
I think originally I had an end date, but I changed it to a storefront, so there is no end date. Yeah, so right
awesome.
There. So it'll be indefinite, and then I could add more and more to it. Once the books are actually in print, and then I'll probably just I'll have like a nice storefront, and you can get all the Shadow Century books there, and then and then so I did a lot of the holographic covers. I'll have 2 of the holographic covers for the Shadow Century Origins books, and then I'll have those on like my storefront, and those will be a little more exclusive,
And your storefront is Fund My Comic?
No, EricNinaltowskiArt.com.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure if you'd have that. That's awesome. And for the Indiegogo, what can you get on Indiegogo that you can't get on Fund My Comic?
You can get, gosh, I'm trying to think. Can you go back to the Fund My Comic campaign real quick?
Oh, back to the Fund My Comic. Sorry.
Yeah, because I think you can only get the Kickstarter cover.
I'm sorry, I have a few seconds. Yeah, you can only get the Kickstarter cover on the Fund My Comic.
Okay, yeah. So you're looking at just the Kickstarter cover, and
this one's closed out. Yeah, so this one you can't get here. You can't get anymore, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I probably did that because it's I was planning on printing in February, so I'm a little bit behind. But well, never mind. Don't go to that campaign anymore.
All right. So the Kickstarter one you can't find anymore, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I missed that cover. There's always someone that misses the boat, though. That's one of the, I was always afraid of launching because I was like, someone's not going to be able to get it, and I'm like, you know what? Someone's always gonna miss it. I had people I was there, Rainy's whole campaign, right? Stream with her from Fiendish 2.5, and then it ends, and the next day I have people going, I missed it. I'm like, what? But I guess, you think you're in everyone's ear. And the fact of the matter is you're not.
Yeah.
You're I'll for Shadow Century. It's like I see it and I'm like, I know I want it. I have written it down many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I definitely want this book. I mean, these books look great. They look so good. So what inspired, Hopscotch is a great name. First of all, what were your inspirations for these characters?
anything.
I see a lot of
everything.
Cable in the second one, but then again, maybe I just default to Cable with any big
No,
guy with a gun.
he's definitely Cable inspired. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I don't want to say every older buff guy with a gun is Cable, but a lot of them, especially if you're from the '90s, I assume. I just got to Cable recently in the comics, actually.
Yeah. No, it's JR's run on Cable. Well, he did.
I didn't know he did. What didn't he do? That man did.
Yeah.
I didn't know he did Cable, but he's done everything.
It was like a 2-shot. It was like 2 issues, 1 and 2, and then it was done. And that's when Art T. Bear picked up and did Cable #1. But it was interesting now that I think about it. It was 2 issues. They were both 48 pages, no advertisements throughout the books. So yeah, 2 issues. They were phenomenal. You get all about Strife and that whole thing, and then the other Weapon X. And yeah, awesome story. So that was I did read that. I remember seeing that in my younger years. That really spoke to me. So anyway, I've always had a thing for Cable. So with him, I wanted to do something similar, but try and get as much away from it as I could, which is hard. But I gave him like the cool, eagle on his pauldron, and but the gloves and things like harken back to the earlier days of Cable. But yeah, so definitely inspired by him. Hopscotch was just kind of like, I wanted like a cool schoolgirl look, and her whole thing is she's a teleporter, so she'll like draw.
Oh, that's portals. A perfect name.
Yeah, draw portals with her hand, and then she just like hops through them. So Hopscotch, schoolgirl is like that's cool.
And what are Commander Noble's name again? What are his powers again?
He's indestructible.
That's dope. These are great. How old is Hopscotch? You said the schoolgirl. Is she?
Yeah, in the origin story, she's about 16. She's still in high school. So when we meet her, it's like 5 years later in Shadow Century book 1. So
that's really cool.
She's still young. But.
I also want to say, I think so. You see her. Wait, she's how old in book 1?
She's so kind of like 21, so maybe 16, 17 in Origins.
Okay, so there's a big bit of gap.
There is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And I also, this was really interesting. So he's so after you mentioned, so 9/11 plays a role in Commander Noble's backstory.
Yeah. So he's in the military, but after 9/11, he's like the first deployed over to Afghanistan. So he's a highborn, he has a near-death experience, so not much of a spoiler, but his platoon gets under attack and he's the only one that survives. But that traumatic event, that's when he finds out he has these powers of indestructibility. So he gets to go crazy and just kill a bunch of terrorists.
That's awesome. Listen, as someone who, lost that in 9/11, that definitely kicks ass and something I want to read. Good revenge fantasy. So thank you for writing that and drawing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When does this take place then?
That story right after 9/11.
Right. Okay. So this. All right. I'm definitely gonna want to get this then. That's really cool.
Trying to think. Time frame is probably November, December of 2021, because we went in pretty quick after 9/11. So
right. And so the present story. So this all takes place before.
Correct.
So how old is Command? How many years? Like when are the current stories set?
The regular series Shadow Century.
Yeah, right.
Present day. So 2020. So he's like 45.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a bit younger in the origin story, but still
really
old.
grayed out.
Yeah.
I guess that happens though. Your squad gets wiped out.
Yeah.
This looks great, and I see we got a lot of. Is that Gina? I met her. I got to meet her again. She's great. Awesome. She's a total sweetheart. These are all your sketch cards.
Not all of mine. So I have myself, Matt Costin, Gabrielle Geske, and then Anthony Figueroa on some as well. So this was a cool little thing. I just wanted to play with Hopscotch a bit and just do like a Hopscotch Halloween. She dresses up as all these different characters and make a cool like trading card set out of it.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I see that. It's very cool. She's a character that kind of blends with everyone. Death, that's from Sandman, right?
Yep.
I've been meaning to read that one. Is she in here? Do we have she or?
No, that's
You
one.
gotta. Yeah, that's. I mean, look, but there's always going to be one that people are going to make. Oh, you didn't do this, so I hate to be that guy. I hate to be see all these cool characters. I don't want to be that guy, but this is great. The colors are fantastic too. Eric Weathers has lettered every book under the sun. Shockingly, not lettering mine, but this man, I mean, he does such a good job with everything.
Yeah. Well, I saw Jesse Hagee is coloring your book.
Oh, Jesse's great. Did you get him to do some stuff?
So the first book of Shadow Century, he colored.
He did such a good job. He works fast. He's so easy to get along with.
Yeah. And he's just getting better and better. He contacted me at a convention and like showed me he colored, like, I have this X-Men panoramic I did, and he colored it and like sent it to me. And it was like back in the day, and it was not that great, but like, dude, he progressed so fast and he kept sending me stuff. I'm like, dude, yeah, man, I think you're ready. I'll give you some work to do. And what I did is I had him do the first round of colors, and I gave it to Carbon Graphics, this guy who does all my covers. And he's amazing. He'll just take it and just dial it up like 10 notches, and it's just phenomenal. So, but for book 2, this is Kevin Anthony DeCastro who did the colors.
Oh, he did some work for me too.
Nice.
That's so funny. Wow, so you use both of my colors. That's so funny. Yeah, Kevin Anthony DeCastro, my first published work, where did I put it? Was a 10-page short story that I plan on following up at some point. And it was Kevin Anthony DeCastro was the guy who colored the interiors, and he was great. He worked so fast. He was on a tight deadline. And he's like, he'll catch every little thing in the art and be like, what's this? As I'm flatting this, I noticed this. He's so fast, so professional. Can't recommend him highly enough. And he killed it. He totally killed it.
He did the colors for the Hopscotch origin story as well.
Great stuff, man. He is one of those names to look out for, Kevin Anthony DeCastro. He's so good. Yeah, I mean, so you got great choices in colorists. If you like the colors in any of my books, definitely check out Shadow Century. Because we seem to have good taste in colorists. I think colorists are so important too, man. Like I've spent like comparable amount of time looking at colorist portfolios to like main artists, because they really can just make or break a comic. I've seen I think there's a lot of color. The colorist has to enhance the artwork without
overpowering it.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many that will add these. And this is just something I don't know how you feel about it, but I notice a lot of colorists who are too flashy. They'll add these like lens flares. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, where it's like, oh my God, they're so annoying. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just trying to look at the piece. Whereas you want like this, and like, look at all the colors, the way they pop here, but it doesn't like intrude on anything.
Yeah. Kevin gets that good balance. And there are some times when I'm like, too much. So I'll get the colors back and I'll tweak it a little bit sometimes.
You can do colors too.
Yeah. I try to let other people do it because I can do it, but gosh, if I did everything, it would take too much time. So I'm like, let these guys do what they do best. And then I'll, I kind of like having the last say. So I'll tweak things just to dial it in where I like it. But yeah, but you could totally do too much where it's like, you're not seeing the actual artwork underneath. And it's like, so I like a good blend.
You don't want them to like trample over even just that you always will lose something when you go color, from the black and white, but you usually will gain. The thing is, you have to make the gains worth it. And eventually we can always do artist editions, right? Like, it's kind of like sometimes you have to just let things go, but sometimes it does improve. I think, for example, before I hired my colorist, like I went through a few colorists and they were good, but like I wanted to, I had a black and white cover for the longest time. People remember, even to the point where if I do this, it's also because I'm lazy. It's still the black and white because I forgot, but it was because I wanted to make sure that like colorists nailed it. And finally I got one that was like, yes, it's perfect. Let me go ahead. I'm surprised I haven't played the trailers yet. Let me fix that. Sorry, it's so deep.
Unhappy, uneasy, dissatisfied. There is a great disturbance, causing affliction to this frail and broken mind.
That was dope, man. And Mark Polton's a great writer too. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I know you mentioned that he did one of the stories, right? He scripted one of them, or you just did the plot. So you almost like Marvel Method, kind of, but not.
Yeah,
Really, that's really cool. So did you write out the plot for that one? Because this one, I think it's just so the hopscotch one is such an interesting creative concept. So it's you wrote out the basic plot, and then did Clayton Barton do the layouts in that, or did Mark do the script first?
Mark did the script first, so we kind of went through the plot. It's kind of like, yeah, there was I had this idea in the back of my head, and it was like there's a lot going on because you have different factions, different Yakuza clans, and it was like I wanted to make sure Mark understood what I was thinking. And since we got that down, then it was like, okay, he did the script, we gave that to Clayton, and then afterwards, all the breakdowns and layouts were done. Mark took that, and then did all the dialogue and all that stuff. So Marvel Method for sure.
That's awesome. That's such a cool way to go about it. And I see you got digitals too. I want to get this physical. Oh, fan art book. I hadn't thought. So did you do an art contest and then just include a lot?
No. So Fan Art Friday, that book, that was the Cara Dune you saw down below.
Yeah. Oh, that's your own fan art.
Yeah. So I did a YouTube thing called Fan Art Friday where I would draw anybody and everybody, but the people comment with a character and then I'll draw it on stream. And so that's just full of maybe 2 years worth of work doing that. That's cool. So there's a lot of CG guys in there. There's Phil Diaz's guy character. There's Mark
Which
Polton.
guy? He's got so many.
So it was fun. Got do a lot of different characters. Got to do some like old school guys like Ash. Did a Shredder. Just a lot of fun stuff. So that's a collection of fan art I did.
That's really cool. Do you still do Fan Art Fridays or no?
I do. I changed the format. So instead of doing, having people comment with a character and then I draw it, I'm basically just doing fan art that I just pick. So I'm doing a Last Ronin piece right now.
That book was so good.
Yeah.
I just subscribed to you, by the way. Everyone make sure, let me go ahead and post that in the chat too.
Cool.
Everyone make sure to sign, not sign. Dude, it's become a muscle memory. I keep saying sign. I'm afraid that when I start telling people to back, for like a solid month of my campaign, I'm going to keep telling people to sign up, and they're not going to know my campaign is live.
So this is
earlier this month, I tweeted that my comic is launching next month. It's not. It's launching this month.
Right. Just habit. But yeah, so I did this on Fan Art Friday after I read the book because I was like, dude, this is awesome.
It was so good. I was really that was one of those few modern comics, and in my lifetime, I don't think I've read that many. But it was one of those few where I'm like, this is one I'm going to be telling my kids about and saying, I was there. I got this. I have it right. Yeah, one of the issues right here. I mean, this book, I was going through it because I was going through when I was deciding how I want to print it. I was going through paperweights and a bunch of different books I have and deciding what I liked.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
It's great, man. That's really cool stuff. This book looks awesome. So the best way for people to back to get everything, again, just run it down. I think I got it, but I always like to make sure that the audience is.
Yeah. So I would go to the Indiegogo campaign because that is ending at the end of this month. But you can get book 1, you can get book 2, and the Origins book. So at the top, I have the featured basic training bundle. So you kind of save a little bit if you get all 3. Mm-hmm. I do have another catch-up tier, but you can get basically all the books that I have to date. Yeah. And then, if you want, like I mentioned, so Fund My Comic has a second chance campaign for book 1 and 2, which is the regular series. If you want to get those like fast, order it on there and then just order the Shadow Century Origins book on here. Because you'll have to wait until I go to print and then you get all the books on the Indiegogo campaign. But whatever you like to do. I got the trading cards on here, which are kind of a fun thing. So it's hopscotch, dressing up as different characters. We got Maleficent, Marilyn Monroe, Zealot from the Wildcats back in the day. We got Battle Angel Alita. I just posted the original art for that on here too. And then some of the other artists who did the trading card art, the art is available. Gabriel Geske, Anthony Figueroa, Matt Costin, he does digital stuff, so I couldn't put his original art on there. But yeah, so there are a lot of add-ons because it is my third campaign. There are a lot of add-ons you could do in the back end. So, if you see something you like, you're going to find different stuff on the add-ons. Just beware. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's great, man. And everyone, make sure to check this out. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're closing on Reedy's channel, right?
Correct. Yeah. On Reedy's channel.
Did I play? Does this have its own trailer? Did I play this trailer? Or did
That's
I
the one you
I
played,
did play it. Yeah. I
Yep.
did play. Okay. All right, guys. Then anything else you want me to pull up?
Well, so I'm doing, after this, I want to do a kids oriented comic. It's called Battle Mode Omega.
Oh, I saw that.
I could share that link with you, but so this book kind of speaks to the people of my generation, my demographic, but I wanted to do a kids book, and I have 4 kids, so I have a heart for kids content and good stuff. And I just feel like it's, Phenomenova is going to be awesome. So I'm going to.
Yeah, I really decided to double down on especially when I had so many people say it's all ages. And I wrote it kind of issue 1, it just felt natural for it to be. And so many people responded so highly to it being all ages that I'm like, I guess I'll just keep it going for that. I mean, obviously it's kind of like, Dark Phoenix it's all ages, but it's darker stuff. I do want to go there down the road, like the darker. But I mean, kids need all ages comics that are good. I really do think, and I think that I can do that without compromising. And whatever mature stuff I want to do, hey, got other ideas, right?
Yeah. Have a little bit for everybody. So I have a sign up right now for Battle Mode Omega, and you can just get in the know. And then as I get closer and as things progress, I'll send out emails and let you know when we launch.
So you can see I'm signed up. So I'm gonna say sign up. Or
noise
Battle Mode Omega. And when are you planning on launching this one? I assume after.
So probably I'm thinking like 6 months from now, so around August or so. Maybe sooner, depending on how we get things rolling. But yeah, get this campaign done, get it fulfilled, get it in the books, and then start cranking on this. And then we said this will be. We're kind of throwing ideas around, but we want to make it a bigger book. So maybe 100 pages, maybe more.
Nice.
Do it at a 6x9 kind of size. And then, just kind of have more story. And then, so it'll be fun, man. I'm excited about it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much, man. This has been so much fun. I'm glad we kept missing each other. Well, more so my fault, probably. I've been very bad with scheduling in general.
Busy.
I'm glad. Well, that too. I didn't believe it or not, I didn't just get 515 signups through them just with no experience. I mean, oh my God, having to deliver on that though is going to be scary. Because now I'm like, I talk all this big game, which you're supposed to do for the record.
Right.
And now it's like, oh man, well, I rewrote my script many times, so it should be good. Yeah. I've gotten good quotes. But
get a lot of eyes on it and get some good feedback and you'll be good, man.
Oh, I have been. I've sent it to so many people. Even earlier today, even down to my campaign page, I revised my about what it's about section because Mike Barron, unprompted, just goes, "Hey, you need to fix this." And I'm like, Mike Barron, you're a good man. He's, by the way, any writers, anyone, he's one of the best people to reach out to. He will give you great feedback.
Cool.
So definitely reach out to him. Thank you so much for coming on. I was originally going to have Vaughn Coleman Presents tomorrow, but I have some real life stuff that I'm doing, so I'm not going to be able to stream tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to stream probably until Sunday. So you won't be seeing me for about a week, but keep following Eric. And I'm going to play my trailer one last time since we picked up a few people as we head out. Thank you guys so much.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born. And with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenal. For you, Dad. For you.